small whispering voice then comes to you. That of Edith. As she just whispers to you, wait a second. Something's off here.
Wait, there's more?
You're almost there. I'm waiting on the other side for you. So as you release yourself from total darkness once more and light starts to fill your periphery, it is very faint, though you feel better than you did before. Take a deep breath. Everything's a little better. Hope still blossoming in you ever so slightly. It's a warm summer evening. As you look up and out are stars, though lightly obscured by foliage. You're in a forest.
You hear the clacking of hooves of horses beside you as you wake up in a bush next to the road. It is night again, as you are covered by branches next to the dirt. So you understand there's like a long traveler's road and you're on the side in the bushes. Hey, wake up. We're almost there. Hello.
You see a number of older men sitting in this cart.
Yeah. So you see a cart going over the road, and the wooden vehicle travels over a sandy path that continues down a long road.
I am awake. Keep your hands to yourself.
Oh, I can't believe you actually got to sleep. This must be the worst smell in the world.
I told you the smell is horrifying.
Oh, it's worse.
I wouldn't ship this from the moor if it didn't pay so damn well. Still, it's hard to get used to. Ugh. You see him pinch his nose ever so slightly.
And when the cart moves past, you smell it too. It's a quite pungent smell, and it's pretty displeasing. It also doesn't really make sense why people would be traveling with this.
What does it smell like?
Make me an intelligence check. Just straight intelligence. Actually, nature would be good for this.
It's crap again. An 8.
You have no idea what it is actually. It's a very pungent smell, and even though you're quite far from this cart that drives in the distance, their voices echoing through this empty forest, it is unlike anything you've ever smelt. It's like sewage, but as if it's on fire. It's
That's
spreading.
A pretty graphic description.
It's spreading all throughout this forest, and it's almost like with every sniff you take, part of your nostrils get burned doing so. It is very volatile, you get the idea. Whatever is in these barrels that this cart is moving. One of the older men in the cart then pipes up again and says, "Awfully nice to give us a ride. Piotr, wasn't it?"
I want you to make a wisdom saving throw.
As you hear that voice, there is something in your mind that tells you this is wrong. You feel sharp pain in your head and your vision blurs. It's almost as if reality is becoming hazy, similar to a notion that you felt not too long ago.
From a tree behind you, you hear the voice of Edith as she hides herself from the people in the cart behind the tree.
She sits next to you. You're both safe in these bushes. And she looks at the cart and then back to you and says, "Maru, be very quiet. I don't think this is your memory, is it? And you have no recollection of anything like this. I think we might have missed a turn in the aether flow or something. We're overlapping with another spirit. Try to hang on."
And as she says that, from 20 feet behind you, you see that the environment rapidly starts to dissipate into red mist as the cart travels further down the sandy road. It's almost as if the memory is of somebody on the cart, and the memory is only being generated where this person goes. Doretta gasps as the dissipation almost reaches the tree that she's standing behind.
You can't be trapped in the mist. Now keep moving along with it. It's the only way out. And she starts walking further slowly. You're following it slowly. With this cart, you're treading between the bushes.
First thing I'll do is I'll take a quick second to take out my jewelry box.
You take this beautiful blue and purple jewelry box with this golden star inlaid on the top of it. And as you do that, a sense of endurance and power rushes through you. Let's give you an inspiration die, a 1d6 for that.
Yeah, I need it, probably.
Well, perhaps because I'm going to ask you to roll stealth check.
Oh, I hate my life.
Good DM, bad DM.
Yeah. Natural 20!
Oh, finally!
You managed to be silent as you crawl through the bushes, or how do you want to navigate?
I'll continue on keeping my eyes on both the cart and on Edith. I kind of want to keep an eye on her.
The small sound was generated. You see the merchant on the front of the cart look over a little bit.
He says, "What was that?" Never mind. Well, gentlemen, we are almost there.
And as you're sort of following along through the bushes, you see a large building looming in the distance. Its spires reach well above the treetops. An oddly shaped smoke emanates from some of its roofs.
The merchant then speaks towards the rest. I have to let you off now. Can't have them see that I've been taking people along. Now, good luck on your way to Brovnoya. If you keep walking by that tree line on your right, you should reach it in half a day. One of the laborers then pipes up and says, "Thank you kindly, good man."
And he is one of the stronger looking men. And he looks over to one of the other peasants, and you see something weird happening. The stronger looking man nods quietly, and with a flick of the man's wrist and a swishing sound, you see the merchant open his eyes in shock and unclose them. Close his heavy eyes immediately as his head slumps to his chest, and a large snore
Okay.
appears from the man's chest. The other peasant man takes a knife from his pocket and holds it to the merchant's throat, looking expectantly at the strong figure that gave the order.
And a small pause, a silence. Nobody speaks through the woods.
The merchant was put to sleep?
Yes,
Yeah.
and now one of these laborers is putting a knife to his throat and looking at the one with the southern accent,
Mm-hmm.
the strongest of them all, for instructions, it seems. The laborer, after a second, pipes up and says, "No, leave him like that."
I want to notch an arrow.
Okay, very good.
We
So you
don't
notch
want-
an arrow. Do you want to interact with the scene?
I will fire my arrow. I wanna try to just hit somewhere on the back of the cart.
Okay.
Just
Okay. Instantly, as the man was saying, "Leave him like that. We don't want to leave a blood trail," and then stops in his tracks. An arrow is put into the side of their cart. Everyone goes dead silent as they all instantly, immediately fast reactions from these older laborers, which looks very strange.
Very uncanny.
ugh.
And then they look at you, and they look straight in your eyes, it seems. You were expecting, as you have dark vision, and these are humans, that they could never see you, but they peer straight through the dark.
All of the men bring their hands to their heads, and with the motion of pulling off a mask, their features distort, and 3 elven faces appear with various shades of green hair falling to their ears and shoulders. They wear black cloaks with cobalt insignia pinned to their chests. And one of them just disappears. And at the same time, you feel a strong hand in your neck pulling you up.
As suddenly behind you stands a man, then another one jumps off the cart and in the middle of the air dissipates and also stands behind you. Make me a strength saving throw as they're trying to grapple you.
11.
11. They grasp your arms and shoulders and pull you back, almost with military training. They know exactly how to hold you as your shoulders kind of push in on itself and you are forced forward. Then the man steps off the cart, also moves in like a manner as if he's taken off a mask and reveals long green hair and this reddish eyes, and puts a little grass trail in his mouth. You recognize the face.
Regis, can we at least kill this one?
You know that's not proper.
Well, she did fire an arrow at us.
As you try and think of Ruddy in this horrifying situation, you don't see Edith anywhere. As Regis, this tall, elvish man, rather built as well, with this long green hair and menacing red eyes, walks slowly towards you and then looks towards the others and says, "Have you learned nothing from our training? Silence is key." Then he makes a small wave with his fingers and then suddenly, in a very swift fashion, puts his thumb on your forehead, almost like on the middle of your head, and you feel this whoosh, this rush of energy go through you as your eyes widen, and then he looks towards you and says, "What are you doing here, little dove?"
You feel your headache intensify as he puts his finger on your forehead.
"I don't want to hurt you, dove. We can't leave a trail. Who are you?"
Passing through.
He smiles at you warmly, almost, and you get a feeling that perhaps this might not be as bad as it is, but the rest of them are still clenching you tight, and there's this very weird dissonance between how they're each acting, holding you. Regis then smiles and then says to you, "So you're not with the Empire then, little bird?"
Who? Someone like me?
They've done crazier things. Think you can find your way home?
Regis, we're losing our time frame with the merchant over here. The sleep's almost worn off.
He looks at the other, grimaces at him slightly, and then nods as he starts speaking in Elvish. It's almost like a French language in a sense, as he says something rather disruptively of the other person, and then starts moving his hands to cast a spell in this dullish purple color. And then, as it takes a second, he snaps his fingers in front of your face, and you feel everything go dull for a moment.
Your headache bursts open, and through the pain, you almost can't see anything anymore. And the last thing that you see, how many hit points did you have?
One.
Okay, I'm gonna narrate it like this. You see Regis' face as he slightly smiles, touches your head, a blue hue, magical hue emits from it, and your mind breaks.
Hello everyone, we're taking a small intermission, and I just wanted to let you all know that these episodes are made possible by our patrons over at patreon.com/DNDQNL, all letters DNDQNL. We really couldn't make this type of content if it weren't for those people backing us every month over at Patreon. Right now, everyone backing us on Patreon is getting shoutouts by their favorite characters from our cast, as well as receiving episodes early. So these podcasts that you're listening to now have already been available to Patreon users for a while now. Finally, our patrons always get a pre-sale so that they can be the first to get tickets for our new live shows whenever there's one available again. This way, they'll make sure they have a ticket because they always sell out so fast. So if you want to support the channel or help us further, or if you even just like the content that we're putting out in this way, please consider supporting us on Patreon because it really, really makes a world of difference. And to those already backing us on Patreon, thank you so much. You're amazing. Everything feels different. And as light fills your periphery once more, you start to regain some sense of spaciousness after floating in nothing. And you awake in a thick, thick fog, an endless misty bank as far as your eyes can see. The ground you're standing on seems to be made of some unearthly material that shifts and changes underneath your feet. It is simultaneously made of both rich marble flooring and shifting dirt and rock, almost as if paradoxically laid over each other in impossible dimensions, but all muted without any colors, only grays and whites. In fact, there's no color anywhere, just white and gray as far as your eyes can see. But what strikes you most is that everything, as far as you can see, is covered in this thick dust, almost as if the thick fog that's hanging everywhere itself leaves behind this dusty residue on all it touches. There's no red, which gives you a swift feeling of comfort. And in the distance you can see the faint outlines of rocky hillsides and small farmsteads, yet it's all obscured by this heavy fog, their silhouettes only faint in the faint white light that permeates everything. You look up and there's no sun, no moon, no stars, yet light is everywhere. Then, from the fog, steps Edith. She says, "I'm so proud of you."
For getting my behind handed to me again?
"I'm so sorry you had to endure this twice. I've seen it multiple times. Witches who died in Witchlock, having to relive it once more. It is the nature of this place. It is where our mind travels when we get lost. Yet there was no other way to pass than forward, and so you did. I don't know what that was near the end, and I would have spared you if I could. Is it someone you know?"
I'm familiar with them.
You recognize the insignia. It is of an order that no longer exists, but used to be very important to the cultures further along across the fine line in Montclair. It was the Delphine Division, or so it was called, and you only know this through obscure tomes that you read in Levidia, which was a secret service of sorts, a special branch of the Montclairois military, which did espionage work, stealth missions, and gathered as much information as they could on the world outside of their borders. You don't know what they were doing in that woods. You gather it had something to do with that waste that was in those barrels, and that metal monstrosity of a building that you saw in the distance where they were arriving. Those smoke chimneys that bellowed far into the Dorney's night sky, and the clanking of machines in the distance. And you recognized Regis as one of the Delphine Division, with two other members which you did not recognize, but they possessed great magical prowess. "There is a possibility that one of these people traveled through here not too long ago. There are barely any travelers like you and I, or him, for that matter. So when their paths intersect, there might be some overlap in memories. Try and put it out of your mind, unless you find it useful, of course. And she smiles slowly at you, though warmly.
Edith,
Yes, child.
what exactly are you doing here? How did you end up here?
You can call me a whisperer of this place, eternally bound to this plane. I help people like you, down on their luck, witches with more to give than might seem.
And you see the form of Doretta Bosk slowly dissolve, and from where she once stood, now stands a tall, almost wooden woman with branches curling from her hair down to her back and enveloping her legs, almost standing as a gigantic wooden tree. She towers over you.
This place. And she looks around at the greyish landscape, the eternal fog, and the everlasting nothingness, as you only see the faint silhouettes of what looks like Dorney's countryside and Dorney's farms, but enveloped by this thick fog, this eternal dust, and weird shifting grounds. As Edith looks at you and says, "This is the in-between, child. This is the conduit, the place where all dreams occur, and the mold of which they're all formed. You've escaped the clutches of this place, the red mist that keeps balance, and as such, you're free to travel the in-between, like me. After all you've seen, all you've relived, would you still desire to return to that life? The world is wretched, child, and evil will always sprout."
But of course. I'll pull out my jewelry box.
You look in your bag and it's still there. Everything's still there.
I mean, who wouldn't want to spend at least one lifetime with people such as them?
Then let me ask you, what would you change, if anything, in the world? Think on it. As I said before, there's never a possibility to return to the way things were. There is only forward.
And as she says this, you feel that you're going to need to have the answer if you ever get back.
There is only forward.
Slowly, she dissipates with her.
I'll snap my jewelry box closed and secure it. Forward it is, and I'll make my way there.
As you start walking, time is lost on you in this place as a shapeless, formless, timeless journey you take on. You only have your own form to rely on to keep you sane in this place. But it is not sad, it is not anxious, it is as it is. And at one moment, further along, far, far along this path, further north, you come to a place where slowly you see the ceiling of this world, the outer edges of your perimeter start to turn crystalline out of these strange dimensions. As everything starts to reflect back in on each other, you look back, and everything is this crystalline husk. As you're sheltered here, a voice echoes and you hear, as there's no path in front of you anymore, sometimes when we cannot see a path, the only thing that remains is to wait for one to appear.
And as your journey started in a confined box, you are unfortunately now still halted by a wall. But as you look through the kaleidoscopic reflections of nature, you see 4 figures walking from the brushes up to the wall, and you can't quite make up the shapes, but they're all putting their hands against the other side. And that's where we're gonna end the session. Yeah,
Oh my god.
there we go. Wow. Yeah, let's have a little talk. Iris, what are you going through right now?
I just wow. You guys really managed to like put all of the existential questions in one session, and I
Yeah.
So we saw of you multiple things, of course, when you're being a child, to you being 18 with Patricia, to you being 22 in that hold-up space behind the bookcase, and then 25 to you being in Levidia. Yeah, how are you feeling?
exhausted.
Yeah.
It just kept piling on, and it was trauma after trauma after trauma, and a lot of poor rolls, and
You didn't roll too well, yeah.
no.
But
True.
as is to be expected in the afterlife, can't take all
Yeah.
your stats with you.
Yeah,
No, man.
I need people around me to, fill in all my my
Oh my
flaws.
god. One on DM, because it's
Yeah.
1 on 2 right now, is hard in any case, especially if you're a bard, because you can smash your way through shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was intense. This was like, wow.
Well, thank you for joining us in this session that was solely focused on bullying you.
Yeah, thanks for the PTSD.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
That's why we're here. Yeah. And to our listeners, we're going to say stick with us, and after this will be episode 3, the live session.
Yeah, and we'll see where this is gonna lead.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow!
I'm so excited. Are you excited, Iris?
No.
No? Not excited for the live show? You think we're gonna bully you again?
I just need a long rest right now. I need a...
No rest in long rest in limbo. Hey.
No,
Ain't
long
no
rest for the wicked. Yeah. Okay, well, goodbye, adieu, tata, and I hope to see you all at the next episode or viewing of Dungeons and Drag Queens.
Or as the elves say, au revoir.
Go fuck yourself. Hey babes! Before you continue watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our D&Drag Patreon, where you can help us develop this crazy show further.